So today we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if all of Eastern Europe unites into one single country. Now this union is going to include all of the Eastern European countries, and the main country here is going to be Russia. Now you might think that the Baltic nations are in Eastern Europe, but let me tell you that the Baltic nations are not in Eastern Europe, but they are in Northern Europe. As you can see on this map, it shows that the Baltic nations are indeed in Northern Europe. But yeah, let's see what happens if they unite in the modern day. Let's see who they declare war on, how they expand, and all those other stuff. But before we get into this video, I want to talk about my new YouTube channel, where from now on I'll be uploading more territorial.io as well as Age of History 2 videos. You guys can also join the Discord via the link in the description. But now let's get right into the video. Now if we talk about Eastern Europe, the leader of this country probably is going to be Russia because of obvious reasons, as they are the main country here, contributing to more than 80% of the land area. And there is going to be a lot of instability in this country because, of course, the Balkans, they never get along. And then again, there are countries which don't want to be in this union, specifically talking about Poland and Czechia here. There is going to be a lot of instability, but if we want to see a stable Eastern Europe, we're going to have to skip some decades into the future, where we can see that the new leader of this country is trying his best to stabilize the country. He is coming up with more and more strategies, which are proving very beneficial for Eastern Europe. And the leader is also trying his best to stabilize the economy, because the economy is in ruins right now because of ongoing civil wars and stuff. And finally, he will have to militarize the country in order to defend Eastern Europe from hostile neighbors. And guys, I should also mention the fact that major alliances like NATO, CSTO, the EU or the UN, they do not exist in my videos. If they would exist, they would not let these countries or empires to expand. Nuclear weapons are also going to be disbanded for obvious reasons. But yeah, as of now, Eastern Europe is looking way better than they were before. And they've also made the country fairly stable, for which we had to skip 30 or 40 years into the future. So yeah, now finally Eastern Europe has the time to militarize the country. And yeah, that is what's just going to happen now. As we can see that the Eastern Europeans are recruiting troops from all over the country. They're also building a sizable navy over here in Crimea, up here in St. Petersburg, in the Adriatic Sea, as well as on the Polish coastline. And now after having a good military, we can see that Eastern Europe is now ready for their first military campaign. This military campaign will obviously be the invasion of the Baltic nations, and now things are not looking good for the Baltic nations. But anyways, let's see. We can see that immediately the Eastern Europeans are pushing into Estonia, mainly focusing on their coastline, while at the same time they're also pushing into Latvia. We can see that the Eastern Europeans also push into Lithuania, taking out their coastline. The troops in Estonia now push in, and unfortunately for the Estonians, they lost their capital city, which ultimately leads to their surrender. And now the Eastern Europeans push in from Estonia. Eventually, we can see that these troops are trying to get to Riga, and unfortunately for the Latvians, we can see that they lost their capital city, which ultimately leads to their surrender. And now Lithuania is getting crippled from all sides, and multiple armies are now pushing into Latvia. We can see that eventually the capital city was also taken, and with that, Lithuania has also surrendered, and the invasion of the Baltics was a decisive victory for Eastern Europe. And in a peace negotiation, we can see that all of these countries got completely annexed by Eastern Europe, and now Eastern Europe feels more and more confident as they want to go on multiple military campaigns. And now for a full-scale military campaign, we can see that they are further recruiting troops from all over the country. These are not fresh recruits, but they had been training these troops for 2 or 3 years. So yeah, they're not fresh conscripts. And the next country which they want to invade is going to be Greece. Now there are multiple reasons for this invasion, but the main reason why is that the Eastern Europeans want complete dominance over Eastern Mediterranean, which they could only achieve if they were to take out Greece. And yeah, that's the main reason. We can see that the Eastern Europeans storm into Greece, and eventually we can see that all of northern Greece is taken. But eventually the Eastern Europeans are stalemated, and during this stalemate, the Eastern Europeans are going to use their navy, which is very formidable. And they make a naval landing in Crete, and they take out the entire island. And we can see that they are taking all of these Aegean islands, and we can see that they make another landing in southern Greece, and they're pushing around. Now because the Greeks are fighting a two-front war, it is very difficult to maintain the stalemate, and eventually the main army also pushes in, and the Battle of Athens ends in a decisive Eastern European victory, and the remaining parts of Greece just go ahead and surrender. And as expected, we can see that all of Greece got completely annexed. and the Eastern Europeans are now dominating in Eastern Mediterranean. They might also be dominating in the entire Mediterranean because of how good their navy is, and they keep on upgrading their navy. But now the Eastern Europeans are going to stop their invasions in Europe, as now they want some lands in the east, and in order to get some lands in the east, we can see that the Eastern Europeans now declare war on Kazakhstan. And the poor Kazakhs stand no chance against the mighty Eastern European army. But yeah, let's see. We can see that the Eastern European troops are now pushing into Kazakhstan, and it is only one army. All the other armies are just stationed on the border, and this army was pushing towards the capital city, which eventually falls to the Eastern Europeans. Alongside the capital city, after the surrender of multiple other cities, we can see that the remaining parts of Kazakhstan just go ahead and surrender because they were heavily outnumbered, and there was no possibility for the Kazakhs to win this war. And once again, we can see that all of Kazakhstan got completely annexed, but the Eastern Europeans still want some control over other countries, for which now they're gonna be sending some ultimatums. And in the ultimatum, it is stated that either you hand over all of your lands, or we're gonna declare war on you. These ultimatums were sent to Mongolia, Uzbekistan, as well as Kyrgyzstan. And because of how strong the Eastern Europeans are, all these countries had to accept the ultimatum, and now the Eastern Europeans are looking very big. But with this landmass also comes instability, and the Central Asian people are not accepting the suzerainty of the Eastern Europeans, and that might cause some problems for Eastern Europe. But as of now, they are done in the east, and now they are going to be focusing on the west again. But seeing that the Eastern Europeans are focusing on the west again, we are going to see some unifications taking place. So yeah, now let's take a look at these unifications. Okay, so there were basically two unifications. There was one unification between Austria and Germany, and there is another unification between Finland, Sweden, and Norway. Now this is a bad news for the Eastern Europeans, as they wanted to expand to the west too. But seeing these unifications, they are a bit scared now, as they don't want a war with these Nordic countries or the Germans. Italy and Turkey themselves are pretty strong, so now the Eastern Europeans are gonna have to use their navy. And amongst all of these countries, Denmark did not unite with the Nordic countries, and so we can see that the Eastern Europeans now declare war on Denmark. We can see that the Eastern European navy has now arrived on the coast of Denmark, and they make one naval landing in which they were able to take out the capital city of Copenhagen, but they still push in, taking more and more regions, and eventually we can see that all of Denmark is under the Eastern European control, and this also means that Greenland is under the Eastern European control. And in a peace negotiation, we can see that all of Denmark got completely annexed, alongside with their territory of Greenland. And yeah, now the US is feeling very uncomfortable because of Greenland being under the Eastern European control. But yeah, this is Eastern Europe at its peak. And if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Also, if this video gets enough support, I'm gonna make a video on what if the Western European countries unite in the modern day. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, this is going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you for watching.